What's going on, guys? It's Groove back again. And in this series, we're going to be breaking down Robert Greene's book, Mastery. Now, this is one I don't really hear a lot of people talking about, even him himself. He does a lot of videos on YouTube, and he often references 48 Laws of Power or seduction, or he really likes to talk about, his 33 strategies of war, which I also have back here. But he doesn't really talk a lot about mastery. And as I'm reading this book, I'm like, man, there's a lot of great stuff in here. So we're going to be going over that. And in this first section, it is discovering your life's calling. And so again, this is what this whole book is about. It's about discovering your life's calling and then how to bring that out and actually master what you're supposed to be here and do. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So he starts out by saying that we're all unique and that this is marked within our DNA. We are a one-time phenomenon. There was never another person before you, and there will never be another you after you're gone. Now, there are a lot of people who have similarities, and he doesn't mention this, but I really like the analogy of like a video game. If you've ever played a Dungeons and Dragons game, you may have your warrior who's very high in attack and defense, but very low on their magic skill. Or you have a thief. That person is very high in their agility and their sneak skill, but then they lack in the, maybe a magic skill or their attack power. And then you have the mage who has very high, magic abilities, but then they lack in the, the defense, and maybe they're kind of slow and they don't really have good a sneak skill. With your uniqueness, you need to figure out what character you are in this world, and so you can focus on that. Because there's a lot of people outside who may be a warrior and they have high attack skill and high defense, but they keep trying to go through life using their magic abilities. And so they're wondering, why do I keep suffering? Why does everything in life seem hard? And you're focusing on the wrong skills. You're focusing on your wrong uniqueness. You need to figure out what you are unique at, and so life will be a lot smoother for you. So then he goes on to say that this uniqueness is planted in all of us at birth. It always wants to show itself to us. And some people experience this a lot stronger than others. And then, some people don't really think about it too much. Our life's task is to see the seed become a flower and use our uniqueness and show it and bring it to the world through our work. So the counterforce to your uniqueness can be a very powerful one. Again, if you don't let it come forth, and if it's not very strong within you, it can be hard for a lot of people to find. Society will make you repress it. Trying to fit into a certain friend group will make you repress it, or even your parents, if they're trying to push you into a more lucrative career, that can kind of repress your uniqueness. Then he goes on to say, if these forces become strong enough, you can completely lose contact with who you are and your uniqueness, which will lead you down a dangerous path. I really focused on that word dangerous. Like he said, it's true. Like if you are not leaning into your uniqueness, if you're not leaning into what that inner voice is telling you to do, you can go down a dangerous path. Even if you make a lot of money, we often hear, oh, this person's rich, but they're really depressed or they're unhappy all the time. It's like, yeah, they may have found a lucrative path, but it is pushing them away from their uniqueness. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting rich. There's nothing wrong with, having a lot of money, but you need to do something that involves your life's calling, which involves your uniqueness. And that is how you can have money and be happy at the same time, because you're doing something that your inner voice is telling you to do, and then you're, making money off of that. And not only does he mention that about being rich and not very happy in life, he also talks about if you are not going after a career with your uniqueness, it's not good for the career that you're in, because you'll be less engaged doing the work that you're doing instead of doing what you want to do with your life. At all costs, we should avoid such fate, and that we should always strive to follow our life's path, and that can begin at any moment. So the process for realizing our life's task comes in 3 stages. So the first stage is the reconnection phase. For this, we need to look inward. You need to be by yourself when you do this, to reconnect with that inner voice. Like, who are you? Think about the past. Think about things that you enjoy doing or that you enjoyed doing when you were younger, and you need to really reconnect with that. So the second stage is probably the most critical, and this is choosing your career path. He says we should really go into a career path that, meshes with our uniqueness, because a lot of people like to separate their work from their life and, just focus on making money. But he says that this can become a depressing life, and it shouldn't be like that, because we end up spending a substantial amount of time at work and life is already short. So if you're going to choose a career path, it should be one that, again, has to deal with your uniqueness and something that you should be intentional with and want to put forth maximum effort into, and not just showing up for a paycheck. And the final stage is stage 3. Now, once we've picked our career, we should pick a career that feels more like a journey than a straight line, something with a lot of twists, something that allows you to lean into your uniqueness and kind of explore and keep learning and keep persisting on, challenging yourself and just getting better and just finding different areas that you can master within this career field. Because doing this allows you to learn more about yourself, and it allows you to expound on your skill base and kind of level up your character. And eventually doing this and continuously learning about yourself and expounding on those skills, it'll allow you to find a niche within your career field that fits you perfectly, and then you can just be leagues above everybody else. He says this is really easy to recognize once we've finally figured out what we're supposed to do in life and, going down this career field that we found ourselves in, because it'll spark this childlike excitement and you'll feel right. You'll feel right at home. You'll feel right at work, and your life will just get a lot easier and a lot simpler. You will love to wake up in the morning. You will love to just show up and tap into your uniqueness to be the best you can in the career field that you've chosen. In a world where there's so much that we can't control, this will be your ultimate form of power. And tapping into your uniqueness and dominating a career field that you're in. Finding your uniqueness today is more prevalent than ever, because the world we're moving into is relying less and less on the state, corporations, or families that are going to be there to help you. And it's moving more towards the individual. So there's still a lot of critical problems that need to be solved. The people who can think independently, the people who can adapt, the people who can lean into their uniqueness to solve these problems will thrive in this new world. And I think it's kind of crazy how he mentions this, because this book was wrote in 2012. And, this is when social media was just kind of like getting its feet wet and finding, what it is. But now more than ever, everybody just keeps screaming, AI's coming, AI's coming. And again, he's like, we really need to lean into our uniqueness, lean more into entrepreneurship, figuring out how we can solve problems in our own way rather than relying on corporations. And again, like I said, over 10 years old, and he's seeing this before the world is really waking up to it. And so now it's kind of crazy how all these TikTokers are saying, oh, jobs don't care about us. I just got fired off of Zoom. And this is why I love reading books, because here we are in 2012 and he's already saying this is coming. So we need to figure out what we want to do with our life and how we can lean into our uniqueness to adapt and create a better life for ourselves rather than just relying on a job. And not only just on the career side of things too, but tapping into your uniqueness, it'll help you find your purpose in life. He says, in this modern society that we live in, so many people have a lack of purpose. And he says that when we have a lack of purpose, this is when humans flounder. Like, we really need to tap into our purpose and what we're meant to do in this world while we're here. Again, I really honed in on this when I was reading it, is because I'm the oldest of 8. And I see a lot of my younger siblings, they're not really doing anything. And you ask them like, hey, what do you want to do with your life? Like, what kind of job do you want to do? Like, where do you see yourself in 5, 10 years? And they're just like, I don't know. And it's like, they're not doing anything. And you should really tap into your inner self and figure out how you can uniquely find out what you want to do in this world. Because these younger kids in this younger generation, they don't just want to go work a 9 to 5. And so we should really sit with ourselves and tap into our uniqueness to figure out how we can bring that into the world. Because your vocation and whatever you do in this life isn't just a job. It's intimately connected to who you are as a person. And so you should really lean into that. So now that we've went over the 3 stages on how to bring your life's task back out. So again, stage 1 was finding your uniqueness, reconnecting with that. Stage 2 is picking the right career field. And stage 3 is how to maneuver through that right career field. He talks about some strategies on how to do that. So we're just gonna go over some of those. So strategy 1 is returning to the origins. And so this is understanding what you like to do as a kid. Like, did you like to play sports? Were you into music? Did you like, playing hide and seek and discovering new things or exploring? And he says we should really reconnect with that. And that's how you find your uniqueness. Maybe you were really into sports. And so, okay, now you're in your late 20s, early 30s. It's like, okay, how am I going to reconnect with that? Well, maybe you should go into a career field that has something to do with sports. You don't just have to play. If you can just play it within that career field of sports, that's where you will thrive. Once we've figured out what our uniqueness is, once we've returned to that origin, now we can master the field, because that's the only way you're going to master a certain career field is you need to love the subject. You need to feel connected to it, because you will be able to push past certain barriers that others would get stuck at, or they just don't want to go to that next level within that career field. So strategy 2 is occupying the perfect niche. Life is a competition, if you didn't know that. So, we're all outside competing for survival and resources, and many people choose jobs that a lot of people go into. And so he says that we should choose one that is very niche to our uniqueness so that it's easier to thrive within that career field. Most of the time when we're working in these career fields where there are a lot of people in them, that can often wear us out because we're always competing for these resources. We're always trying to politic within our career. And again, this can wear you out. But if you find yourself within a good niche that is more geared towards your uniqueness, it's a lot easier to thrive and, come out on top. An example of this would be like a doctor or a lawyer. So let's just say you're a lawyer. And, instead of just being a general lawyer, maybe you maybe you focus more on families because you like families, or maybe you focus more on business because that piques your interest more. Or if you're a doctor, don't just be a general doctor. Maybe you focus on pediatrics because you like kids, or maybe you focus on trying to become a heart surgeon or a brain surgeon, or I guess what would that be called? A neurosurgeon. So again, find a niche field that you're interested in, which will help you thrive and get more of those resources, and there's less competition in there. Strategy 3 is always avoid the false path. So this is trying to pick a career that has to do with money or fame or attention. He says that this is one of the worst things you can do, because once you start to lack this, so let's just say you choose a career because it gives you a lot of attention. Well, once you start to lose this attention, your work will suffer. And so it's kind of like a cycle. You lack the attention, so your work suffers, and then your work suffers, so you lack even more attention. And he says that this can often lead to your downfall. So never choose a career based on money, fame, or attention. It always has to be about your uniqueness, because that can carry you through longer than just, oh, I'm just dependent on this paycheck. So the only reason I'm here is for money. If that money starts to falter, then your work will falter. And so that'll just mess with your mind, and it'll just mess with your life in the long run. And he says it's best to realize this early in our careers, because that way we won't have to take a confidence hit, because that can hurt us getting back out there. Strategy 4 is letting go of the past. With your career, or any career in general, there's always change. Like, it's inevitable that there's going to be change in the world. And so he says don't forget to let go of the past. Never be tied down to a position or a certain job. Your loyalty is not to a company. Your loyalty is to your life's task. Like, that was huge when I read that. Again, it's not to the company, it's to your life's task. So as long as you're always doing your life's task, if you get let go at a certain position or a certain job, then you just go get another job, again, doing your life's task. And I will say, he doesn't mention this, but just because you're not loyal to a company doesn't mean that you should slack off or do a worse job. Again, this is why you need to be loyal to your life's task, that no matter what job you're doing or no matter what company you're working for, you're going to do it to the best of your abilities because you enjoy being there. You enjoy doing the work. Again, you don't have to be loyal to the company. Be loyal to your life's work, but that will also help you within that company. Usually those are the people that don't even end up getting fired, because you're there putting the work in because you actually love the work. And he also doesn't mention this, but this will help you if you do end up getting let go by a job. If you get let go by a job, but you've been doing your job to the best of your abilities, it will be nothing for them to recommend you for another job. If you find a job interview and they're like, hey, we want to speak to your last employer, and they call them and they're like, oh yeah, this person was perfect, they were great, we just had to, we had to downsize our business, so we had to let them go, but they were a great worker. And so it's a lot easier to get that next job if you are in a career field that is, you're using your uniqueness and that is more closer to your life's task, because you're going to do a better job regardless, as if they let you go or not. Strategy 5 is finding your way back. So he says that we all have a life path that we're meant to be on, but so many of us end up choosing a job that just pays well. And he says this is why so many people turn to drugs or alcohol or gambling or maybe video games, is because there's a certain emptiness within us that we're not fulfilling. And so again, we just try to fill it with all of this extra stuff, again, drugs or alcohol or something like that. And so we should always try to find our way back and look within us, and so we can tap into our uniqueness and have a more fulfilling life. This can also show up with frustration and pain in life. If we're always suffering, if we're always depressed about what we're doing in life, again, this is another inner calling that you need to be doing something else. When he mentioned this, it reminded me, like, there's another well, he's not really an influencer, but there's another guy on YouTube named Brad Lee, and he's always doing these motivational talks. He often said that this is going to require sacrifice. And, Brad Lee always gave this example of, you're holding a ball. So this is your current career, and you know something's wrong. Again, the pain and suffering, you need to do something different. But instead of letting that ball go and letting that career go to go get another one, what you really want to do with your life, he says this is where so many people, they fail and they just get stuck because they're unwilling to let go of what they have in order to get what they want. I really like that. A lot of people, again, they're suffering, they're depressed, they have anxiety, they hate what they do, but they are unwilling to let their current life go. It's going to require sacrifice to get the life that they really want. The road to mastery requires patience. We should always think 5 to 10 years out, and it's okay to do that. We should all do that, and we should all return to the path of our uniqueness and our life's path. And especially now that we're just entering 2025, it's a good time to have that as a resolution. We should all just try to get back on track with our life's task and what we're supposed to do in this world. And then he just ends the chapter off by saying that, you know, all the money and success in the world, it doesn't come to those who focus on money and success. It comes to those who focus on their life's task. Then you will be rewarded in the long run. And so that's pretty much it for this first part of this book. Go ahead and hit a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys in that second part. Peace.